You know, we are so accustomed, at least in this business, unfortunately, I have covered a lot of Black Lives Matter cases. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of strain. The George Floyd case has allowed us to really see the strain of witnesses very much up close. So many people witnessed this man die or were near him just before he died that now we're sort of experiencing their trauma. Let me play a quick little montage of some of these witnesses who've actually expressed guilt. And they played no part in his death, but expressed guilt regarding his death. Take a listen.
What was going through your mind during that time period?
Disbelief and guilt.
Okay. Why guilt?
If I would have just not taken the bill, this could have been avoided.
There was no medical assistance on scene, and I got there and I could have given medical assistance. That's exactly what I should have done.
It's been nights. I stayed up apologizing and apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more and not physically interacting and not saving his life.
Yeah, as an experienced public safety director yourself, is that something that you're familiar with, seeing that kind of trauma and sort of guilty feelings by people who witness a killing?
Well, I'm familiar with it on two counts here, Joy. One, being a 40-year veteran in policing, and certainly have seen these types of events, but nothing to what we witnessed today. We'll continue to witness. This is horrific. It's just absolutely a horrific event. It's embarrassing for the law enforcement profession. It is not reflective, certainly, of all the men and women without there. But what we saw from the beginning of their interaction with George Floyd was just wrong. And quite frankly, if you even think about the fact that this may have been a counterfeit $20 bill, it really didn't have to go into an arrest. But the second piece here, as a former practicing clinical psychologist, we're seeing people who are tremendously traumatized each day in court, but not only on the streets of Minneapolis, in their families, but across this country, people are traumatized, and people are really feeling really heartfelt about what they're seeing every day. This is horrible.
Indeed. You know, and Shauna, you know, this is sort of an experience I think everybody has experienced in all these Black Lives Matter cases. I mean, Tamir Rice, that could be our baby. You know, you see, you know, Trayvon Martin, that beautiful face. You think you relate because you relate to them. Isn't the challenge here that the one person who couldn't seem to relate to George Floyd's humanity, well, the four people, are these officers, right? I mean, meanwhile, a juror today halted the trial because the juror had a stress-related reaction. This is a white woman in her 50s, suffered what the judge called a stress-related reaction. She's been having trouble sleeping and had been awake since 2 a.m. And isn't that kind of the crux of the case, right? The four people who needed to see George's humanity didn't.
I definitely think that is a very significant, impactful point. And I think the prosecution is layering that in by having each one of these bystanders that had such a different experience, different training, different background. Still, each one of them had a visceral reaction to what was happening. They all came to one general body and consensus of thought that this is unacceptable. And that's significant. And that's not going to be lost on our jury.
Yeah, and you can hear Mr. McMillan begging him, you know, just cooperate, just cooperate. You can't win. You can hear it. And it's so striking. Let's go through and talk about this fake bill piece of it, Mr. Alexander, because this is part of the crux of the prosecution case. Well, he tried to pass a fake $20 bill. You know, Michael Eric Dyson sent me a piece from his book, a book that he wrote earlier, which he talked about the fact that, you know, there wasn't even a real strong belief that it was really a counterfeit 20. Here's Christopher Martin talking about whether or not he knew that the bill was fake.
The other person that had come in, it kind of seemed like he was trying to scheme, like he knew it was a fake bill and he was trying to get over. I thought that George didn't really know that it was a fake bill, so I thought I'd be doing him a favor.
So, I mean, if that is the crux of the case, that he had committed this horrible crime trying to pass a fake bill, that's not even clear.
No, it's not clear. And here again, we're not certain whether it was really a fake bill. But let's say it was a real bill, just for the sake of conversation here, Joy. The reality of it is it did not need to escalate to that point. It is a potentially phony $20 bill.
Yeah.
That's it. That could have been an arrest ticket at minimum you give them an arrest ticket and send them on this way. For them to go through what they did to over a possibly phony $20 bill should not have led up to what it led up to on May 25th of 2020.
Let me play some more of Christopher Martin. He was very compelling in that he's so young and he lived above the cut food store. And he said he doesn't even live there anymore. I mean, like people are saying they didn't want to go in the store anymore. That's how traumatized they were. Here's a little bit more of his testimony.
Can you describe for the jurors, generally what his demeanor was like? What was his condition like?
So when I had asked him if he played baseball, he went on to respond to that, but it kind of took him a little long to get to what he was trying to say. So it would appear that he was high.
So you just had some signs that you thought he was under the influence of something?
Yes.
All right. But were you able to carry on at least some conversation with him?
Yes.
Is this a portent of bad things to come, Shauna, that the defense is going to try to make George Floyd look like he was sort of out of his mind and high? But that's not what this young man said. He interacted with him.
I think that the defense overpromised a bit here. I think that when you see this video, what they described, the intensity with which the police department responded, we're going to give you a sense of something very different. And this video shows a very calm, laid back. He was dancing a jig. He hugged someone. It's the antithesis of what they built this up to be. And that is going to be something that the jury is going to hold on to, because you cannot overpromise and undeliver. And that's what this did.
Well, and also they're going to try to make it look like he was sort of on the verge of death anyway. He sure didn't look like it. As you said, he's dancing around. He's responding to people. He looked happy, looked jolly. He looked friendly. It's going to be a hard time to convince people he was some sort of, a monster that was zonked out on drugs. It doesn't look like it, at least from what people who interacted with him said. Let's play one more piece. This is actually kind of chilling. This is an interaction between Derek Chauvin, who was then a police officer, and a bystander who confronted him after this whole confrontation ended. Take a look.
We gotta control this guy because he's a sizable guy.
Yeah, and I tried to get in the car.
Looks like he's probably on